Chair, what we lost in that last address and what we lose with private prisons is human beings and humanity and what we're about as a people. And when we imprison people, and when we imprison them in private prisons that give businesses, corporations, individuals a chance to make money at somebody else's loss of freedom, we're forgetting what makes this country great. This country is about due process. It's about equal protection for all. It's about fair administration of justice and not putting an alien stream, profit-making stream, into the idea of lawmaking. Our country is founded under the rule of law. And when you have a private company that wants to have more people incarcerated because that gives them more occupancy, then you've got an influence in government that skews us in the wrong direction. There's a reason why the private prison people gave a ton of money to Donald Trump, because they wanted more private prisons, and Barack Obama was stopping them. Stopping them because it was an alien influence on the rule of law and the production of criminal violations and codes and sentencing that made sense, and instead allowed this force to come into play that wanted to get there for greed, for money, to make money out of the incarceration of other people, regardless of whether it was doing any good. The mass incarcerations we've had in this country have cost taxpayers $30,000 a person. It's taken human beings away from their families, away from their children for extended periods of time that did no good. It didn't deter crime. It didn't stop crime. And tomorrow in my city of Memphis, Attorney General Sessions is going to be there. He thinks we should have longer sentences and thinks that works. That's the kind of anachronistic thinking that takes us back to the 50s, the 60s, even to the Civil War, where we thought that putting people away in gulags, putting people in prisons, even enslaving people, and after the war we couldn't enslave people, they put them into debtors' prisons. It was a way to keep people enslaved when the amendments stopped slavery, mostly in the South. And they put debtors' prisons and put people away, and the state made money out of it. And people made money out of it, the old landowners, by taking people and putting them to work in work farms. This whole idea of private prisons is wrong. It distorts what we should be doing with the rule of law. It brings to mind what President Trump recently did in writing to the president of the Philippines and saying, "You're doing a great job in working against the scourge of drugs," and praising him for what he did. This country has had many great moments, but we've had awful moments, and some of the most awful moments were lynchings, when the rule of law was thrown out, when due process was thrown out, and people took people without a trial and lynched them. I went to a program in Memphis on Sunday where we commemorated the 100th anniversary of the lynching of a man named L. Persons. He was taken out of the jail in Memphis and lynched for a crime that he probably did not commit. There certainly was no finding that he did. Lynchings don't have to be by ropes. They can be by burning, and they did this by dousing the man with oil and lighting him a fire. And they invited people to come, and there were 5,000 people there in 1917, May 22nd, to watch that lynching, and said that they used too much gas because he burnt too quickly. And those people came and they bought sandwiches and drinks, and they celebrated like it was a wonderful thing.
I'm sure that.
And when President Trump praises the Filipino president for what he's doing on the drug war, which is having his police go out there and execute people without trials, he is praising lynching, even if it's in the Philippines. It is lynching, because when you don't have due process and you take the law into your own hands and you're judge and jury and executioner, you are not doing what made America great. You're not doing what this country stands for, but you are encouraging something that is the scourge of humanity, lynchings, doing to people what we would not want done unto us, and taking us away from the rule of law. Private prisons are wrong, lynchings are wrong, and what Moon Landrieu did in New Orleans, and I just watched his speech, was beautiful. We need not to reflect upon a war where treasonous individuals fought our country and resulted in over 600,000 people dying to protect this nation, the United States of America, from a group that didn't want to be a part of this country because they wanted slavery to exist, and that was the basis upon which their economy thrived. Economics, like in private prisons, shouldn't be how we judge our values and our institutions. It should be judged on how we treat our people. We are better than private prisons. We are better than lynchings, and we are better than memorializing people who were treasonous animals. I yield back the balance of my time.
Question occurred.